Hello, can you all hear me now? My apologies. I'll start that from scratch. So just to let you know, what we're looking at today is the Nebula 10.1 release. So this was released in September, towards the end of it. So what I'm going to be sort of going through are some of the newer options available on this latest release. So what we're going to have a look at first is the Nebula Control Center as a whole. So we're going to be having a look at the actual platform and some of the enhancements that have been done to that. So the organization owner, so we've added some changes to be able to transfer an owner to somebody else. So if you've created the organization and you need to delegate a new owner to it, you now have the ability to do this. The original owner won't be removed or anything like that. They will be just set as a full administrator. And a notice email will be sent to the new owner when it's been done. And this can be accessed through the organization, configure, and administrator. A few things that we've also done is delegate an administrator. So some operations are still prohibited to the MSPs, so they can't do, for instance, license point transfers and stuff like that. So the customer who is the owner has the ability to do everything, but then they might want to elect an MSP, so a managed service provider, to conduct certain changes on their behalf. And at the moment, as I say, license point transfer is one thing that can't be done. So what we've been able to do is basically create a delegate admin who has higher privileges, and in essence, it's exactly the same as an organization owner, except you don't have the ability to delete an organization or assign any other delegate administrators or change the owner transfer. So basically, they get full rights to do everything except for relinquishing the ownership of the actual organization. So again, being able to provide more administrators with more functionality without actually removing yourself as being the owner. So, and this can be done through organization, configure, and administrator. And you can see there, when you actually go into the administrator, you'll have a box there that allows you to delegate the owner's authority over to somebody else. So the account must be an organized full administrator to be prompted to be a delegate administrator. So you won't be able to do it, for instance, on a user or anything like that. It has to be a full administrator, and then you'll be able to delegate them with higher powers, as I say, pretty much in line with the owner, apart from being able to do the transfer of ownership and things like that. So feature that's been brought out is firmware upgrade. Now this is quite important because as Nebula is growing and a lot more people are coming on board to use it, the firmware upgrade had to be done at sort of like a site level. So the more sites you add, the more difficult it could be. So we obviously understood this. So we was basically created now, or previously, a site-wide configure and firmware management. You'll go through each individual site and you'll have to upgrade all of the devices or specify a scheduled time. And ultimately, as I say, this increases the amount of management time you've got on the actual platform itself. So now what we've added in the organization level, configure and firmware management. Users can now upgrade all multiple devices over multiple sites, meaning that pretty much you've got one screen to manage all your firmware for all of the sites that you manage. So again, being able to increase the amount of productivity that you've got. And if, for instance, you want to set it back, if you highlight it and then click on the reset button, it'll just reset the site to a default upgrade time, which is specified in the system. Site topology enhancement. So the site topology, to me, is one of the best features for Nebula, especially when it comes to troubleshooting the network. The more sites you've got, you lose visibility over how the structure, because you might have installed it a year and a half ago, might not be able to remember exactly how it was set up. So the site topology is really important. So some of the things that we've added, now that the meshing system is now fully operational within Nebula, it now will provide you on the topology the wireless links. And as you can see there towards the bottom, you've got a wireless link which is formed over a mesh. The dotted lines is showing that it's a wireless connection, and it shows you that the uplink is using a 2.4 gigahertz wireless instead of the 5 gigahertz wireless. We've added a few extra triggers on there as well. So when you actually click on the devices, it gives you quite a lot of information. It'll give you the name of the device, the status of it, model, MAC address, IP address, any tags you've set to them. For the access point, it'll show you how many clients and things like that you've got, but it'll also show you the remote port. So that's, for instance, on the right-hand side, if you have a look at that access point ending the WAC 6110D, you'll see that that is connected into the remote port in the switch it's connected to. Now you have the ability now to actually reboot the device directly from the topology. And you've also got the ability to reset the PoE of a switch. So you could go onto a specific port, click on it, and reboot that PoE device just in case it's struggling, suffering any potential issues, and it needs a reboot. You can do it all within the topology now, which is, as I say, really handy. The topology is really good for you being able to track through the network as well, and to make sure everything is functioning as it should be, and diagnose any potential issues, as I say, like remote port. And specifically with the actual online status, if it is offline, you can track it straight back to the port, and then start diagnosing it at the switch level. We've also implemented, now this makes things quite easy, because overall being able to find your devices can be a bit clunky, because you've got to go into the actual individual sites and things like that. However, when you're an organization owner or a delegate admin, you can now check all of the devices by going to the user in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and then my devices here. And it will basically give you a list of all the devices that you've got across over all your organizations, over all of your sites. And it allows you ultimately to find them via MAC address, serial number, any specific name, any organization or site. And again, just being able to retrieve that information much easier. Now, one thing that you can do is being able to click on any of the blue links. They're a hyperlink that will take you to the relevant page. So if you click on the MAC address, it'll take you to the device details page. If you click on the organization, it'll take you to the organization overview. And then if you click on the actual site, it'll take you to the site dashboard. So you can start saying, if you're having a problem with a device, you can jump into it, or you're trying to trace a device, jump into it, find it, and then you'll be able to click on the MAC address, the organization, or the site to take you and start drilling down further into it. So what you can also do now is filter specific device by either a customized keyword. So you can type in either the model, part of the MAC address, serial number, name, organization, or site on the left-hand side, and it'll filter down for you. Or on the right-hand side, you've got predefined criteria. And if you're using tags, for instance, you can tag, say, all your core switches as being core, or your edge switches as being edge, for instance. And you can drop down there, and you can actually specifically put in there the specific tags, and then filter them like that. Again, all the links and everything work the same, and will take you to the relevant pages. So configuration templates. So what is a configuration template? So a configuration template is basically like a virtual site. So you'd build the site up, store everything, all the information, the SSID, how the switches want to be configured, etc. And then as you build physical sites that you want to send equipment out to, that's part of a project, you can bind them to this virtual site, which means that any changes you make to this virtual site will get pushed down to the bound physical sites. So let's say, for instance, in a retail, so you've got a chain of retailers that's recently coming on board. You build a template, and they've got 50 offices that they need network deploying to. Each one is exactly the same in terms of what they want configuring, SSIDs and things like that. So you can apply this on the virtual template and then just create a new site. It's going to be bound to that template. You then register and configure, plug the devices in, and it will get all them settings, and then you can ship them out to site. I mean, in hindsight, you don't even have to get them out of the box. You could send them straight down to the the premise, and if they're having building work done by an electrician, you could get the electricians, for instance, to plug in the access point, and it'll just start working. That's how easy it is, and that's the whole point about this, is being able to improve the management of multiple sites using the same configuration and making things much easier. So as I say, you'll have a template site that will be bound to site A, B, and C, and then any changes done for the AP or switch configuration will be replicated across all 3 of them sites. So again, being able to simplify and make it easy to push out your configurations. So users are also allowed to set AP configurations in the template. This is something which has recently been added. So the configuration template is still in a work in progress to provide you all the facilities. So things such as SSIDs, authentication, captive portals, SSID availability, the radio settings, and the AP and port settings can now all be configured inside the configuration template. So as I say, if you've got a chain of retails and every month they get their SSID or their passwords changed, for instance, you can do it on one site and push it out to all 50 within a matter of minutes. So just a bit more information about it. So the bound sites can also have a local override configuration. So if one of the remote sites needs something a little bit different, you can tick a box and do an override configuration, in which case that will then ignore any site-wide, any organization templates which have been pushed down. It will ignore them. Now, with it being a pro feature, what happens when your pro pack expires? Site will keep its current settings that it's been pushed down through the template. However, at this point, it will unbind itself from the template, and the configuration template is then grayed out from the web GUI. So you won't be able to access the configuration template to make any changes, and the site itself unbinds itself as well. So it starts acting as a sort of standalone site, like the normal type configuration. So the organization admin can revert bound site settings back to the template, and as I say, local override settings is also unchecked at the same time once that's been done. So if you do it from the template, then it will revert it back, and it'll basically force it to inherit the template settings again. And these settings are done within organization-wide configuration templates, and then a template profile is what you'll create. And you can create multiple templates as well and bind them to different sites. So it's quite flexible in what you can do with it. So one of the new features that we brought out is the cloud authentication with a voucher. So this is a bit similar to the dynamic personal pre-shared key that I've done on previous webinars. So this cloud authentication with a voucher, so it provides network access for a limited time period, and ultimately it allows the customer to charge for Wi-Fi, for instance. So a customer comes in, I want 30 minutes of Wi-Fi. Here's a voucher code, Mr. Customer, go ahead and use it. So this is set up within the SSID authentication page. So if you go into access point configure authentication, then you'll be able to select the voucher, and then you can see there you can also manage the voucher by clicking on the vouchers hyperlink that's listed there as well. So how do we configure it? So if you go to site-wide monitor and vouchers, which is another way of getting to it, you can click create on the right hand side. Then once you create it, you can say, right, how many vouchers do I need? Now I've run it and actually created 999 vouchers, and it takes a matter of 2 seconds to create all them. You can specify the code length, so you can either keep it short and sweet, or you can make it a little bit more complicated. And then what the duration is, and then when do you want it to purge? So after it's expired, when do you want it to be removed off the system? And then you can specify that you want to print after created, and if you want to save it as a default sort of voucher. So once you print it, it'll give you these sort of printouts. So you can customize these as well, which I'll show you in a few minutes. But it basically means that you can print it out and cut them out, and then as people want the internet, you can then provide them the voucher It tells them what the SSID is that they're meant to be joining. It tells you how many hours it's valid for, and it also tells you what the login code is. So that'll be basically what password it asks you when you log into the Wi-Fi. So you can make certain configurations to the voucher itself, which we'll go across in a minute. But after a user is physically associated with the access point, before they actually gain internet access, it will actually appear and ask you for the voucher code. This is where you put it in, and then the information logs can actually be shown. So if you have a look at the AP event logs, you'll see that obviously the authentication method is a voucher. It sort of says what the voucher code is, and the MAC address and the IP address of the device as well. So again, that traceability, so you know that the voucher has been used on a specific device. There's a few statuses with the vouchers. So there's unused. So basically when the voucher has been created but it hasn't been used by a customer for authentication. Active, so the voucher has been used for authentication and the duration is basically counting down now as well. And bear in mind that once a voucher has been activated, it is basically on a clock. It's not how long you're connected for, it's how long you've been it's been authenticated for. So if I go and use a voucher now and I've only got 2 hours, it'll start counting down 2 hours. If I go away for an hour and a half, then really I only get half an hour's worth of internet connection. Expire, it's when it reaches the duration date. However, it won't be removed from the system. It will state it's being expired, and you do have the ability to actually re-enable that voucher as well. And delete, I mean, basically, it hasn't been used and it's reached its purge period. So if you've created a voucher and it's got a purge period of 30 days, if it's not used within them 30 days, then it gets changed to the deleted status. To monitor the voucher, so if you go to site-wide monitor and voucher, then you can actually have a look on there and see what vouchers have been used, which have expired, which have deleted, the duration that it was when you create the voucher, and how many minutes are sort of remaining. And it'll also tell you what the expiry date is for that. So a nice, quick, easy view just to see the status of the vouchers you've created. So this is an element I quite like. So being able to customize it, we all love customization. So you can actually specify a voucher image on there, and you can also specify what it actually shows. So in terms of available time, passphrase, you might want to call it Wi-Fi key or something like that. So again, just being able to customize it a little bit more and just tweak it so that when you do print it out and give it to your customers, it's a bit more tailored towards your business. And obviously you can also specify promotion text or URL on there as well. So if you've got any sort of daily deals going or anything like that in the sort of hospitality industry or anything like that, then you can do that. So it works pretty much the same as the captive portal sort of does. So if you go to access point, configure captive portal and themes, this is where you can sort of customize the screen that the customers will see when they log onto the Wi-Fi. So again, you can specify a logo, different messages for success and things like that on there, and just being able to tailor it for your customers. So with a voucher, you can only use a maximum of 124 users to log on concurrently through the captive portal per site. So when it's exceeded, the first person or the one with the longest idle time, let's say, will be kicked off, and then it'll make use for somebody else. So it's sort of like a rolling 1,024 users. So in each site, only one SSID can use the voucher. So that's quite important to understand because you won't be able to create two SSIDs and use vouchers on both of them. And what's the behavior with it being a pro license? What's the behavior when if the license expires? So the related settings are grayed out, so you won't be able to access the voucher settings or anything like that. The SSID that is using the voucher, because you've specified it to use a voucher, that option will still be available. However, it does mean that your access point will no longer broadcast that SSID. So it is important that if your license does expire, make sure you go and change the authentication method to something other than a voucher. And then once you've upgraded back to a Pro Pack, the user will have to re-enable the SSID. If you've made no changes to get it back working, you'll have to re-enable it manually for that to then show again. So that really concludes the features that have now been brought out into the new Nebula control panel. We do anticipate, obviously, further enhancements coming towards the end of the year and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for our future webinars. What I do want to touch on at the moment is a bit of a journey that we're doing here at Zyxel and trying to help people move into the sort of MSP space. Now, we're using Nebula as a platform to be able to do this because of how easy it is to manage, the fact that you can manage multiple customers over it, the level of control you've got as well when it comes to delegated admins and things like that. So by becoming an MSP, once you've sort of completed the journey, so it involves a few steps such as watching a webinar, filling out a small little survey, then you'll be eligible for a free Nebula training voucher where you can become ZCNE certified. And then we'll go through like an onboarding meeting with yourself, the MSP specialist team will. And then once we've done that, you'll then be eligible for upfront discount directly through distribution for 25% off Nebula licensing. You'll be able to get gold level discount on all SMB and cloud products of 9%. So if you're an ally at the minute and you're not receiving any discount, then by joining us on this MSP journey and going through everything that you need to, and if you qualify as an MSP, then you can get 9% off, as I say, SMB and cloud products directly through distribution. They'll have a list of MSP specialists. You ring up, you place an order, they go, yes, Mr. Customer, it looks like you're an MSP specialist, here's 9% off and 25% off your licenses. You get priority access to the pre-sales and post-sales support team right here in the UK. So the likes of myself, Nigel Canning, who's a sales engineer, as well as David Johnson as well. He's part of the MSP specialist team and will be able to help you in your journey and any potential projects you've got moving forward. And we also have a loan program as well. So we can actually provide you some sort of loan equipment to either trial with your customers, make sure they're happy with it, or just for your own sort of peace of mind. To make sure you can use that. So again, there's a handout which you can download from this webinar. So I strongly advise that you have a quick read through that. There is a link on there as well that will take you to the website to which you can actually register with us. So please have a look at it. If you've got any questions, then I'm also here to help you now. And if you have any questions later on, then feel free to get in contact with me. So I'll keep the webinar open for a few minutes, but feel free to ask me any questions on this subject matter, either the MSP or some of the Nebula enhancements. In regards to getting more training vouchers, Andrew, I know that you've obviously joined us on the MSP journey and have gone through the Nebula training. So at the moment, the Nebula training is the only one that's available through this program. We've got the Academy campus where you can sort of purchase further training vouchers. But as I say, I'm looking into what I can do for yourselves in regards to training, because I want to get as many customers in the UK fully trained up on our Nebula, switching, Wi-Fi, and security as well. So I'll, as I say, I'll be in touch in the near future to talk to you about that one. If you're looking to try and get more Nebula vouchers at the minute, as I say, I'll have a word with you offline about that and see what we can do. So they seem to be all the questions that I've seemed to got from today's webinar. So I'll take this time just to thank you all for joining me today. If you have any questions regarding the MSP or the Nebula, then you can email me at daniel.marsh@zyxel.co.uk, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always available if you do need anything. So thanks again, everybody, and have a good day. Take care.